Welcome to Tokyo Wave, recorded in a live studio in Harajuku, Japan, with your hosts Aaron and Parker. All right, everyone, welcome to episode 28 of Tokyo Wave. We're your hosts, Aaron Randall
and Parker Allen. On Tokyo Wave, we bring you weekly updates from our studio in Harajuku.
Join us in segments featuring this week's top news,
political happenings,
business,
and other random stuff.
To get us started, here are this week's top news highlights.
Tokyo added to travel subsidy program as discount raised to 50%.
Tokyo stock trading stops due to system glitch.
Boy successfully masqueraded as Tokyo elite high school student for months.
I want to know more about that one. This week in Japan. All right, so to get us started, Tokyo added to travel subsidy program as discount raised to 50%.
Kyodo News reported that Tokyo became part of the government's domestic travel subsidy program on Thursday as the amount of assistance offered to travelers amid the pandemic was increased to cover up to half of the entire costs of travel.
A similar initiative to promote consumption at eateries also kicked off the same day, in which points are given to patrons reserving seats that can be used the next time they eat at a restaurant that has joined the program.
Points! God, how many point systems do they have in Japan now?
Way too many, and way too many cards, man. Dear God.
You know, there are some people who have a wallet just full of point cards.
I've seen folder-sized wallets with point cards.
I mean, do you use point cards?
Hell no.
I hate those things.
They take up too much space. It's impossible. I mean, once you start using it, yeah.
And they expire.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure some of our listeners are thinking, "Hey, you're losing all of the points. Give them to me." You can have them. We don't want the fucking points.
I can't disclose what company it was, but I have worked for a company that had access to all of that user spending data, right?
Oh, me too. I mean, and that's why they have these point systems. It's basically, spy technology.
For sure. This company, though, that I worked for, they didn't use any of the data.
Wow.
Yeah, they didn't use it. So it's like, why are they even...
The company that I worked for, they used it, and they made a boatload of money off of it, actually.
Oh, wow.
I think in Japan it's referred to as big data.
The Go-To Travel campaign was launched in July, but travel to and from Tokyo was initially excluded due to the high number of new coronavirus infections at the time.
The 1.5 trillion yen travel push, expected to run until the end of January of next year, originally offered a 35% discount on hotel and package tour fees. 35%. I wonder how they came up with that. I think a dartboard might have been involved.
So, travelers will now also receive additional coupons worth 15% of their travel cost for use at their destinations.
So we got points and coupons. Great. The discount is capped at 20,000 yen per person per night for hotel or package tour fees and 10,000 yen for day trip fees.
However, how effective the campaign will be has yet to be determined. There are just 2 public holidays on the calendar through the year end, and midweek travel in Japan is almost non-existent.
Yeah, I wonder how they're gonna get more people to travel because, unless there's a holiday, people just don't get out of Tokyo that much.
Oh, for sure. Unless you're taking, holiday from work, which most Japanese don't do.
Not really. Well, so because Tokyo residents are about 10% of the Japanese population, the idea here is that getting them to go on vacation is supposed to boost tourism nationwide. But if these travelers flock to tourist spots on weekends, it could lead to another wave of coronavirus.
Right. So in view of such concerns, the government has said it will encourage people to take days off during the week and telework from travel destinations in the style of a working vacation or workation.
Yeah, I bet lots of employers are going to let their employees do that.
Next up, Tokyo stock trading stops due to system glitch.
Kyodo News reported that the Tokyo Stock Exchange suspended all stock trading Thursday morning due to a computer glitch, marking the biggest problem with the exchange system since 2005 when trading was stopped for 3 hours. So it's even worse this time.
Yeah, wow.
All that new technology.
The exchange said there was a problem in transmitting trading data, and it is not known when trading will resume. It is also unable to receive trading orders. Off-floor trading in Tokyo has also stopped.
Trading was also suspended at the Sapporo, Nagoya, and Fukuoka markets, which use the same system as the Tokyo Exchange.
The Tokyo Commodity Exchange was not affected. The Japan Exchange Group said that futures trading on the Osaka Exchange is processed by a separate system and started as usual.
The last large-scale system failure, which happened in November 2005, was caused by a defect in a software program used to process data from securities companies. At that time, all of the executives of the Tokyo Exchange were handed a pay cut. I wonder what's going to happen this time. Are they all going to get fired? Kinda doubt it.
So at the time of recording today on Thursday, the stock exchange is down. But earlier this week on Monday, we were seeing a huge rally and actually seeing the Nikkei rise to historic levels. It's kind of interesting that right after that, we see this shutdown. They may be connected. I know there were a lot of issues with the pricing systems in the airline industry with coronavirus, where people could actually book flights from New York to London for $1 because, right, all these systems are automated now.
What did they switch the airline system with the McDonald's dollar menu system?
Something like that.
It's only $1. So, I don't think any flights are actually $1.
Yeah, supposedly some people were able to get them, I think, back in like March and April.
Well, by now, maybe some of those airlines would be willing to sell their seats for $1, given the current state of the industry.
Oh, yeah. All right, and finally, boy successfully masqueraded as Tokyo elite high school student for months.
The Mainichi has reported that a boy has been caught passing as a registered student accepted at an elite boys' high school in Tokyo, where he reportedly continued to attend classes until September.
The incident took place at Kaisei Senior High School in Tokyo's Arakawa ward. The school continues to hold the record for the high school with the most students who win spots to the competitive University of Tokyo.
The high school has expelled the originally accepted student and banned the boy pretending to be this student from entering school premises.
According to the school operator, Kaisei Gakuin, the high school's entrance exam took place on February 10th, 2020. Proctors checked applicants' photos on their exam admission slips against their maskless faces during each of the 5 subjects they sat for. The same checks were conducted on February 16th in the information session for successful applicants. The same registered student attended both the exams and the information session.
Due to coronavirus, from March, classes at Kaisei were conducted remotely. When in-school classes resumed on June 29, a different boy showed up pretending to be the registered student. The school held term finals in early July and then went on summer break. Even when classes resumed on September the 8th, the boy continued to attend as if he was the registered student. Teachers and others at the school failed to notice that the boy and the one on their records were not the same person.
So they keep saying a boy. Do they know how old he was? Was he actually of high school age?
Well, I would imagine so.
Okay.
If this little elementary school kid, I'm a high school student. You kind of tell, right?
I just wonder what the deal behind this is.
Or maybe it's like that the meme where it's like, what's up, kids? It's like this old guy.
Yeah. Yes. Well, what's the guy? The actor's name that they have in that meme. He was in Con Air.
No, he was in Reservoir Dogs.
He was in Reservoir Dogs and Con Air. Jim Belushi. Yeah, I think that's his name.
No, it's not. No, it's a different guy. Wait a second. Reservoir.
Oh yeah, it's not Jim Belushi.
Jim Belushi's dead. He's been dead for.
What's that guy's name? He's got the weirdest face.
Yeah, it's like he gets parts for being unattractive.
Yeah. He like
Steve Buscemi.
Thought it was Belushi, but it's Buscemi.
Close enough. One of these two people is not dead.
The deception came to light because Kaisei Senior High School had not received a cumulative guidance report for the boy, which students' former junior high schools usually send to high schools in April. When the high school contacted the registered student's former junior high school about the document, they were told it already had been sent to another high school. Kaisei then confirmed with the boy and others, and it emerged that he had been masquerading as the registered student.
Yoshiyuki Washizaki, the office manager at Kaisei Gakuen, responded with no comment when asked about the relationship between the registered student and the boy who attended the school, as well as who had actually been the one taking the remote classes. The plot thickens.
But Washizaki did say, "We will be thorough in our management of cumulative guidance reports to prevent a reoccurrence. If it hadn't been for the novel coronavirus, we would have been able to confirm this in April. This would not have occurred in any normal year."
Yeah, I don't know about that, but you gotta think, like, what was this boy's end game? Like, was he just planning on pretending to be this other kid for the rest of his life?
I mean, I'm more curious about the kid who set it up.
The mastermind.
Like, what was he doing, while this other kid was in his place at school?
No, he was just, he got accepted to a different school.
Oh.
So, I mean, this hasn't been released or anything, but my guess is that, Kid A is smart and he got accepted to all these different schools. And Kid B didn't get accepted to any school, or not the school that he wanted to go to. So maybe Kid A said to Kid B, well, since I got accepted to all these schools, take this one.
Yeah.
That's unfortunately not how it works, but for a few months, it looks like they were able to get away with it. Those rotten kids. It's like a Scooby-Doo villain.
I know, right? I don't know. I think if you're smart enough to get away with it for that long, though, that says something in itself.
Yeah, I think he has a promising career as an sagishi.
The Yakuza's probably already contacted him.
Well, boy wonder con artist, you think you can join the big leagues? We'll see about that, slicker. But I mean, what is this kid gonna do now? Because, I mean, I guess he didn't have a high school to go to.
Yeah, I don't know.
And then he turned to a life of crime.
There's an Eric Andre meme. He was the Terminator this whole time. And they take off, the mask and reveal. Anyways, I don't know if many people will get that.
Well, at least he'll have stories to tell his grandkids. Well, when I was a little boy, I pretended like I was another boy and then went to that boy's school for 6 months. I have to say, of all of the dastardly things you could do, I mean, it's kind of innocent, right?
Oh, for sure. I mean, it sucks that Japan is so strict with these things. I remember when I was in high school, we would do these kind of, not pranks, but a lot of the high schools where I grew up were really close in proximity. So like I would just go to one of my best friend's high schools and just hang out with him and go to his classes. And you weren't really supposed to do that. And it's not like I'm pretending to be someone else. Actually, I think I did like make up a fake name when I would do this, just to not get in big trouble with the teachers.
Kevin, right?
Kevin. Yeah, that's the go-to name.
Speaking of going to the wrong class, I didn't do this for nefarious purposes, but rather because I was an idiot. But when I was in college, I took a class on market research. And for whatever reason, a lot of different classes kept on changing the rooms where they would do the class. So I went to the class that I thought was supposed to be the market research class, but actually it wasn't. However, everything was in Japanese, and I had never taken a market research class, so I wasn't really sure what the deal was.
Right.
Also, I think I missed the first class. So I came from the second class, and I mean, the teacher, didn't like stand up and say, "This is leadership class, not market research class. If you're a dumbass, white kid trying to take this market research class, you're in the wrong damn place. So get the hell out of here." He did not say that. So I sat and I participated in the lectures for this leadership class, thinking that it was a market research class for like 2 or 3 months.
Oh, wow.
And so it was like half of the semester. And then halfway through, I think the teacher came to me after one of the classes. He's like, "You're not registered for this class. Like, are you just kind of hanging out?" And I'm like, "No, this is market research, right?" And he's like, "Well, son, I don't know how to break this to you, but no." And then I was like, "Oh, shit." And then I had to find the market research class. It was in a totally different building. And then I started that class halfway through the semester, and I had to be like, to the teacher, I had to explain to him the amazingly stupid thing that I did. And then I had to like borrow the notes from someone else. And thankfully, Japanese university is a cakewalk, so I was able to pass it. But
yeah,
imagine taking a class in Japanese and then you don't take the whole half of it and you've got to pass the exam. That was rough.
Yeah,
I think I got a D.
No, the school I went to in the States, UCF, the nickname that students came up with is...
what does it stand for?
You can't finish. Ha! That was the nickname, right? So like dude, this campus it's the largest campus in the United States, the largest school campus, right? You'll have like psychology 101 like freshman year. It's literally like a 30-minute walk to this random building. And then you'll have to go to economics, and there'll be another 30-minute walk the other way. And there were similar stories of people that were just in the wrong class for months. And I think, they would just fail and then get kicked out. That's one of the reasons why I had this "you can't finish" thing. In Japan, when I was at university, I would drop into other classes for a variety of reasons that I won't disclose on the podcast. But
hey, ladies. Get in that Beastie Boys clip. Hey, ladies.
Yeah, right. I would always ask the professor if it's okay if I could
sit next to this girl. Because she is smoking.
I'm from America. I don't know what's going on. Can I just like sit here and learn?
Teach me your secrets.
Oh my God. All right, and up next on Japanese Politics Wow, we'll be talking about Taro Kono and how he's declaring war on fax machines. You're now listening to Tokyo Wave. Japanese Politics Wow.
So this week on Japanese Politics Wow, we're going to be talking about the new minister in charge of administrative reform, Taro Kono, who has declared war on fax machines.
After being tapped as Japan's new minister in charge of administrative reform, Taro Kono has wasted little time in waging war on emblems of Japan's bureaucratic red tape. First, hanko personal seals, and now fax machines.
So a new Japan Times article has just come out that outlines the new minister's war plan. One of Prime Minister Yoshihide Suga's first moves as Japan's new top dog is to streamline administrative work, eliminate vested interests, and push for a shift toward a more digitally savvy government.
Minister Kono recently said his ongoing crusade against hanko, which is often cited as a factor behind the rigmarole of municipal paperwork in Japan, will go a long way toward phasing out the nation's entrenched fixation on fax, the beloved low-tech system that is the butt of many jokes among us foreign residents in Japan, which has hampered efforts to go paperless.
How many times have you had to fax something?
When I worked for a very old school Japanese real estate company, every day.
I've sent thousands of faxes.
Yeah.
And so now my company doesn't have a fax machine, so if somebody wants me to send them a fax, I have to go to the convenience store to send the fax.
Oh, God.
And sometimes, for whatever reason, it doesn't work. So go to the convenience store, send the fax. Then you got to call the people who are supposed to have received the fax. And then you have to ask them, did you get the fax? And then they say, nah, bro, I didn't get your fax. And then you have to go back to the same damn convenience store and try again.
Yeah. I've had so many issues even with just printing stuff at the convenience stores, you know? I'll make a slide deck or something and try to print it out. And if you make anything with like nice new technology and try to print it out on one of these, you know, printers at the convenience stores, like shit just gets fucked up.
Yeah, pretty much. And so maybe there is a way out of this fax hell that we have found ourselves in the midst of. Kono told a regular media briefing on Friday that, to be honest, I don't think there are many administrative procedures that actually need printing out paper and faxing. Why do we need to print out paper? In many cases, that's simply because the hanko stamp is required. So, if we put a stop to that culture, it will naturally obviate the need for printouts and faxing.
Wow, this is a pretty revolutionary statement.
I mean, it sounds so common sense if you don't take into account the fact that Japan loves faxing in hankos.
Oh, yeah.
And faxing hankos. Mm-hmm. And hanko faxing.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of the managers, right, at these offices, that's their job. It's just to review hanko.
Something that we often do because you can do things digitally, but so for instance, if you have to send a digital contract, you've got to print it out, sign it, stamp it with the hanko, and then scan it back in, and then PDF it to whoever you're going to send it to, and then the people on the other side probably print it out and keep it somewhere.
Exactly.
Just a memento of your hanko. A hanko memento.
It's a nightmare. According to the Information Technology Cooperative, more than 95% of businesses still use fax machines today. The share of households that use fax, on the other hand, is on the decline and fell to 34%. So 34% of Japanese households still have a fax machine.
Yep.
That's quite a lot.
Start sending those faxes.
Through my telepathic powers, I shall attempt to transmit this exact signature to my assistant 3,000 miles away.
With Xerox telecopier transceivers, simply by dialing an ordinary telephone, you can send copies of letters, drawings, even signatures, cross-town or cross-country in a matter of minutes. If your business needs information quickly, your Xerox telecopier representative will show you how to do the trick.
So hanko, also known as inkan, is a personal stamp that spells out a person's name, usually their last name, and is commonly used to show proof of authentication for an array of public documents, application forms, and just about anything.
Right.
You can even use it to sign for a package.
Yep, yeah.
How convenient. Except not.
Yeah. So in most cases, hanko must be manually stamped, forcing many to show up to their company offices just for that purpose. The practice came under intense scrutiny earlier this year when it forced thousands of business people to commute into their workplaces even in the midst of the pandemic.
Although acknowledging some of the most official types of paperwork may have a legitimate need for hanko, Kono was resolute and insisted on phasing it out.
As far as administrative procedures are concerned, I want to end the culture of stamping hanko just for the sake of stamping it. I will push my way through.
A day after being appointed to his current post as Administrative Reform Minister, Kono, who has 2 million followers on Twitter and is known as a bit of a firebrand, announced the launch of an anti-red tape hotline on his website, encouraging the public to tip him off to examples of bureaucratic inefficiency they want rectified. His request resulted in the website being deluged with thousands of messages, triggering the temporary closure of the hotline just a day later. The system is down. The system is down. So maybe his server was running on a fax machine.
Yeah. So on Friday, Kono said he was still in the middle of laboring his way through the 4,000 plus messages. Besides those pertaining to hanko and fax, one of the most common complaints that caught his attention, he said, was the fact that certain types of writing utensils, such as fountain pens and ballpoint pens, are often required when signing names for application forms.
Gotta get your Jan Hancock. Kono pointed out that these antiquated protocols prevent people from writing their signatures on tablets and therefore hinder efforts to encourage more online contracts.
Kono's war on hanko and the fax has been quick to resonate with Environment Minister Shinjiro Koizumi.
Also quite the firebrand and outspoken, Minister Koizumi told a news conference on Friday that at the Environment Ministry, "We have a special hanko seal that only the minister is permitted to use, and my staff sometimes come up to my room just so that they can ask me to stamp documents. It is just too inefficient."
Reiterating Suga's slogan of not being constrained by precedent, Koizumi expressed a willingness to rethink hanko requirements with a view towards swiftly abolishing them.
Despite his calls for ridding administrative procedures of hanko, Kono emphasizes that his campaign does not extend to the eradication of the hanko tradition per se.
Minister Kono said that the culture of hanko is something long and ingrained in our nation. I hope that many people will take this opportunity to stop to reflect anew on the hanko culture that we have. Since the 1980s, the US and Japan have been using the word digital transformation, and we've talked about this on the show before. Obviously, Japan, to many people, to everyone's surprise that I found, probably 99.9% of people that do not live in Japan or don't have experience here assume that Japan is this high-tech dreamland, but in actuality, business admin and business tech is very low-tech. And they have also had this word, digital transformation, and this notion of doing so since the 1980s, but really not a whole lot has changed. I mean, just reading that, more than 30% of households still have a fax machine. And as Parker, you and I were talking, to do business here, I mean, I've gotten used to it. I'm used to having a hanko. I'm used to, having to do a fax with my meishi, right? Like I've just given into the whole system. Do I think that Japan's really gonna change? No.
What's funny, and just to kind of put this into perspective, you might think, well, fax machines and hanko, nobody likes those, so just get rid of them. Well, you would be wrong, because like any good drama, there is a nemesis in this war on hanko, and the nemesis is, drumroll please, Yamanashi Prefecture.
Ooh.
Earlier this year, it came out that during the coronavirus pandemic, a lot of companies and people were complaining about hanko, and it was people in Yamanashi Prefecture who are related to the production of hanko stamps who came out to wave the hanko flag and say, "Hey, that's not right. We like hankos here." So Yamanashi Prefecture is known as a massive producer of hanko seals and is one of the leaders in the number of such items shipped in Japan. Inside Yamanashi, the town of Ichikawa Misato claims to be the #1 village for seals in Japan. Not the kind you club, though. And so earlier this year, there was an article in the Mainichi saying that several people from this town in Yamanashi Prefecture were feeling as if seals were being accused as the reason workers must show up to work. Yeah, actually, that's sort of the deal. And so in the article, a Takaaki Suzuki, who is chairman of a cooperative association of seal distributors and manufacturers, commented that the seal culture has supported the daily lives and operations within Japan, including business contracts and the establishment of corporations. Another seal maker within the prefecture also said, despite the trends of the current age, it is not necessary to place so much blame on seals. I always laugh when I see an article like this that says seal so many times because, you know, if you sent this article to somebody in the States, it'd be like, seals? What? Who's clubbing? Can we shoot the seals?
Yeah, no, for
Is
sure.
it seal season? No. Stamps. But then they think you're talking about, like, you know, postage stamps. So it's just like,
Oh, yeah.
seal
yeah.
stamp. I mean, you know, thing that you press on paper to make a mark, which nobody uses in America. So of course they don't understand what we're talking about. Jesus.
Yeah. I remember my first year or so being here, just being so confused for a lot of the paperwork and documentation procedures and the requirement of hanko and just, yeah.
So can you describe your feeling the first time you went to get your hanko stamp made?
It was actually pretty easy. I just went to the local, you know, these hanko makers are all over Japan. They're like on every corner of every neighborhood. So I just got my last name in katakana written out. But there were like super expensive ones too, right? Like, you know, you've got the $100 one, and then you've got like the $10,000 one as well.
There's also quite a scandal about the materials used to make hanko, because your standard run-of-the-mill hanko is made out of wood, but the more expensive ones are made out of a bull's horn, which you know, has a little bit of question about the morality of using bullhorn.
Yeah.
And then the most expensive ones are made out of tusk, which causes even bigger question marks to come up in the realm of where those tusks come from.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, for me, you know, if I was to upgrade, I'd like to get one of those. I've seen, very rarely do I see it, but you know, I think it's more of the ink that they use. It's like traditionally, like, you know, this all comes from the blood, right? You'd stamp, you'd actually use blood, right? But now we use like this cheap red ink. I love the really thick red ink that looks like it's from the 1700s. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, they actually sell it. That's the ink that they use when they register stamps.
Yes,
and so if you go to a big stationery store, you can buy it, and it looks rad.
Yeah.
But it's really hard to get off of the stamps. You know, when you're finished stamping, you have to clean it off, right?
Yeah, like immediately.
I mean, it is like impossible to get this stuff off because it is so red and so thick and so gooey. It's actually gooey.
Oh wow.
Have I discouraged you from buying it?
A little bit, yeah.
You want to see my special red ink? It's really gooey. But I mean, seriously, you know, hankos and fax machines, if you told me that, you know, we're going to get rid of them in Japan starting next week, I'd tell you that you're full of shit.
Yeah.
But, you know, now the minister in charge of administrative reform says that they're going to do it. So is this really going to happen?
We'll just have to wait and see. I think, you know, there's so many really great solutions for signing documents online now that has really heavy encryption. It's going to break into Japan one way or another. And yeah, I think probably, you know, in 5 years, hanko will be gone. But it's going to take some pretty big leaps.
You know, I can already see it coming, though. There's going to be some contract that gets disputed in court. And the defendant is going to be like, well, I didn't know. I thought it was like a bogus fake contract because I didn't actually stamp it.
Oh, man. And then that's going to set the precedent. And then
Yeah, that's like, it wasn't official enough defense.
Oh, God. And then we're going to go back to like, you know, 1980s again.
You know what? I think I'm going to go back to school to become a lawyer so that I can argue this case because I want to say, if there ain't no seal, it can't be real.
Yeah, I mean, you could be like the Japanese Better Call Saul.
Even better. This week on Better Call Seal.
Nice. Hey, listeners, that's right. You listener right there.
Who do you think should be our next guest on Tokyo Wave? Let us know. Drop us a line at wave@tokyowave.jp.
We hope you enjoyed Tokyo Wave.
If you haven't already, you can subscribe to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, SoundCloud, and YouTube.
Join us again next week on Tokyo Wave.